Let's take a look at one more example here with optionals. Let's say we wanted to create an optional array value. And we did that like so. My optional array is of type array, and let's say it contains strings. This is a similar declaration to what we have up here. It's just that, oops, I've mistyped this. So I need to put this over here. So we've defined an optional array. The only difference between this declaration and the one above is that we've appended the question mark here to let the compiler know that this is a value that allows, that is allowed to be something or nothing. Let's say down here we want to add something to it. My optional array dot append. And you'll notice that when we type that, if we just type my optional array dot append, Xcode will automatically insert this question mark here. And that's basically saying that this is an optional array, that we're aware of that. And anything that happens after this question mark may or may not happen. So we, of course, cannot append, just like we saw above, we cannot append a value to an array that has not been initialized. In other words, to an array that is essentially nil or nothing. So this guy right here is nothing. We do not initialize it to something. So we know it's nil. We know that from this. And we're trying to essentially append a string value to nil, which doesn't work. And so that evaluates to nil. It's safe. It's not going to crash our application. But it's worth noting that anything after this question mark, when we're working with an optional value, may or may not be executed. If we try to remove that question mark, Xcode is going to give us a problem with that. It cannot invoke append with an argument list of type string. So again, it's not that clear, what that actually means. But we know that we're working with an optional type, and we know that adding something to something that might be nil, you can't just do it. You need to acknowledge by inserting this question mark that you know that this is nil and it might not actually work out the way you want it to. We could, of course, change that by initializing it to something. And at this point in time, let's see, why do we have 0 elements? So Xcode is doing us a little bit of a disservice here in saying that this is 0 elements, because it's not actually true. We are able to append the word alfie to this optional array. And let's see if we can force it to just tell us what the proper value is. There we go. So if we just type my optional array down here, it's going to give us the full contents here. This is a bug in Xcode in this particular playground. Hopefully they will fix it in a subsequent release. So my optional array now contains the word scrumptious and the word alfie, and that worked because we initialized this to something, and at this point we safely insert the question mark so that we know that this statement isn't going to crash our application. We could say my optional array equals nil here, and all this is going to evaluate safely. This just won't have any effect. So there you have it, vars, lets, and optionals, the building blocks of working with variables in Swift.